Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus, available to use online, at ATMs or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty.
Hello and welcome to the Monday Postcast. I'm Maddie Plough, and on the sofa this week I'm joined by Mark Scully. We've also got Tom Siegel and Paul Binfield on the line from Paddy Power. We're going to take a look back at the weekend in a moment, but first we've got a cracking weekend ahead to look forward to, including the Dewhurst and the Cesarewitch. We're going to crack on with Friday and talk about the Group 1 Bet365 Fillies Mile, won by Rhododendron in the past. Aidan O'Brien, I think he's won it for the last 3 years. Binners, if we kick off with you, I think there's been some quite interesting market activity on this one.
Yeah, interesting race, Maddie. Aidan O'Brien dominating it at the front end. Happily 9-4 favourite. September 5-2. Magical 9-2. Then it's 5 Magic Lily, 6 Lawrence, and 16-1 Bar.
Okay, well, there's been a bit of a gamble on September, I believe, and Happily is still in the Dewhurst. I think that's right. Maybe someone will be able to confirm that for me. So, we're going to start off maybe talking about the Aidan O'Brien horses. It's kind of hard to predict what he's going to do with them, but Mark, who would be your selection for this? Presumably you've got to side with one of them?
Yeah, I'd written Happily down.
Yeah.
But then, obviously, as you rightly say, she is still in the Dewhurst, so maybe they're going to go that way.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose if Happily does go and take on the boys again, I would be with September. Really liked her at Royal Ascot. She's beautifully bred. She's a really beautiful looking filly as well. Very small, actually. She's you'd sort of think she'd grow a bit, but I think the feeling amongst them is that she's actually just sort of going to be quite a small
horse, full stop. Yeah,
there's not going to be a lot of progression from her. But no, and it seems interesting that they would not put Happily in that race and let her go into the Dewhurst. If they wouldn't do that, presumably, if they didn't feel that one of those other two, September or Magical, was going to be able to be competitive enough. So I'd probably go with September, but if Happily ran there, I'd be all about it. But there you go. That's where I am at the moment. Until we know more, then I suppose we can't really say much more.
As I said, it was quite an interesting market having this gamble on September and Happily still being in the Dewhurst. I looked at the other one, which is Magical. She's actually rated £6 higher than September, Tom. Is she of interest at all to you? Or
Very stern. Tom, what have I done now?
You didn't do anything.
Tom.
I was just directing my question.
And what do I think September's running? He said that
Yep.
the other day, and I think September's their number
so
one.
you wouldn't go for Happily at all?
I don't think Happy's going to run. Simple as that.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I think the market's telling you that anyway.
We're getting there, aren't we?
That's
our
Happy's
conclusion.
not running. September is Magical, as you say, has better form than September. I think they think that better ground is the key, and that's why they would prefer September to Magical. But there's nothing. I like Lawrence myself. I think she did absolutely nothing wrong at Doncaster. I think she's miles better than she showed there, and I think she'll beat them both.
Yeah, I like Lawrence as well. I think she's one of those fillies who you looked at her Doncaster effort and thought she's just way better than that, and she's going to progress. And obviously Carl Burke's had an exceptional season too.
Yeah,
so,
I like her a lot. I think she's definitely a proper staying filly for next year. The other Carl Burke filly, I don't know if she's got to be supplemented or whatever, but she was in it at the other stage, Althea.
I don't think she's going to
run, is she? No. So that takes her out of the equation. But for me, it's all about Lawrence, really is. I mean, I don't think Nailati stays, really. I think Quivery's quite an interesting filly for Jeremy Nacida, but I don't think she's quite good enough. And I think Lawrence will beat the O'Brien fillies myself.
Okay, we've summed that up quite nicely. Binners, just a refresher, what price can we get on Lawrence? And any thoughts from you on this one?
Well, Lawrence is 6-1, Maddie. I don't know if Tom's right about Nialetti staying the mile, but I think she's a huge each-way price at 20-1, as she's not rated far behind the market leaders in this race.
Yeah, Mark Johnson's 2-year-olds, you never know. They just tend to pop up, a bit like Card Sharp, isn't she? He ran a really good race in the Middle Park the other day. Right, we're going to talk about the rest of Friday. We've got the two Group 3s, the Cornwallis and the Oh So Sharp Stakes, plus the Challenge Stakes, and there's another big handicap as well. We've got the possibility of Lamato running in that Challenge Stakes. Sound and Silence could go in the Cornwallis, and then we've got Madeline in the Oh So Sharp. They're just a few names I chose to pick out. Mark, go to you first. Any particular standouts for you in those three contests?
I was looking forward to seeing Gavotta in the Oh So Sharp Stakes. I thought that was the one to take out of the Rockfell.
Yep.
Started a run much later than the first two, but if you watch that race back, really was the eye catcher in finishing third. Got that experience now of the Rolling Mile, so that's nice and fresh that'll be nice and fresh in her mind, hopefully, and she should be able to handle it quite well. So yeah, I like the look of Gavotta in the Oh So Sharp.
If I remember rightly, she came off the bridle quite early on. Do you think she wants a bit further, or do you just think that was greenness?
No, I'd say it's probably just greenness. And it's, the Rolling Mile is it can catch horses out like that because it's it's wide, expansive, and sort of the undulations of it. And I think she was obviously learning all the while. Hopefully that'll stand her in better stead this time.
Yeah, she was a big eye catcher, as you say, last time out. Tom, trying to be less stern this time. Anything catch your eye out of those 3 races, or maybe on the handicaps?
Yeah, Lamato's an interesting one, isn't he? Because to me, he's nothing like the horse he was last year. Everyone keeps making excuses for him. Ground here. Just doesn't look the same horse to me. Now, he was only beaten, half a length at Goodwood last time. Ground would have been a little bit soft, but and
wasn't
he ran
beaten
very
far at Royal Ascot either.
No, he wasn't beaten far at all, but he still wasn't the same. I would think the ratings will tell you. I mean, I'm just looking down the race post ratings here, and it's they're a good £10 below what he was performing at last year. Now, there might be excuses, but I don't think so. He's had fast ground a couple of times. He couldn't beat the Tin Man. Ran fine in the July Cup, but I don't think, bar Harry Angel, that was the greatest July Cup I've ever seen. And therefore, he's an interesting horse. I'd be taking him on if he's a short price again, because I think there's others in there like Massart and a few of the 3-year-olds in there, Johnny Murtagh's horse True Valor, Lancaster Bomber. They've got classic form. Rahana. They've been running really well in proper 3-year-old races. I'd take Lamato on all day long now, provided he's at a short price. So I thought that was the most interesting race on the first day, because we're sort of in the dark about who's going to run in these 2-year-old races. They've, Aidan O'Brien's got 3 or 4 in each of them.
I love how Aidan O'Brien's just the kingpin. Everything revolves around him, as you'd expect. On Lamato, I would say the one thing, the buzzword with him is ground. And I had a quick look at the forecast. I think it will be pretty good ground. So if he gets it, that'll be one thing that people won't be able to use as an excuse.
Correct, but he had fast ground at Newmarket. He had fast ground at Ascot. He's still, even on those performances, I'm looking at them now, the race post ratings will say he ran into 117. Last year he was running 126, 124. So he's still whatever the ratings are telling you. Our guys who sit there doing all the figures and minutiae will tell you that he's £8 or £10 below where he was last year. Now, he could easily bounce back. I mean, this is 7 furlongs. First time he's had 7 furlongs on fast ground, which might be the key. But nonetheless, I think he'll be a short price. He always is a short price. And I don't want to be with him until he shows that he's where he was last year.
No, I'm in agreement. He's a great horse to take on in a way, isn't he? Binners, any market movers for the Friday or any fancies elsewhere for yourself?
Well, I'm pretty keen on one in the Oh So Sharp Stakes, Maddie. Going to take on the great Mark Scully in this. Chiara Luna for Dermot Weld, 7-1 in that race. Gavotta 3-1 joint favourite with Madeline. Really like the way Chiara Luna won a Leopardstown Maiden over 6 last time, and Dermot Weld said that she's a very progressive filly. She will be when she steps up in trips. I'm looking forward to seeing her.
Okay, excellent. Before we move on, I'm just going to roll off the competition. Now, each week, as you know, we give a listener or viewer the chance to win a £25 or €25 free bet courtesy of our sponsors Paddy Power. All you have to do is answer this question and tweet your answer using the hashtag Postcast. Today's question is, which horse won last year's Dewhurst Stakes before going on to victory in the 2000 and Irish 2000 Guineas? The winning entry will be revealed in Friday's Postcast. Good luck.
Paddy Power are offering money back as a free bet if the horse you back finishes 2nd, 3rd or 4th to the SP favourite in 2 races today and every day this month. Max £25 per race. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Okay, welcome back to the Monday Postcast. We're going to get everyone's blood boiling now as the action kicks up a notch on Saturday. We've got the Dewhurst, which looks a really compelling renewal. A lot of it revolving around Expert Eye, of course, who's been off for a while since he won at Goodwood. Are we with him or against him? What does the market say, Binners?
Well, the market's very much with him, Maddie. 8-13 favourite for Jolly backers. 9-2 Verbal Dexterity, 7 Emirati, 10 Seahenge US Navy flag, and an amazing 12-1 on Happily.
I looked at that and I thought she was potentially a big price as well. If she went, I don't think she'd be that price. Now, Aidan O'Brien has won 4 of the last 10 runnings of this race. Ryan Moore was on 3 of those. But Bolger and Manning have also had 4 when they've teamed up, and they're obviously represented by Verbal Dexterity. So who are we siding with, Mark?
I think Expert Eye, and it's not exactly, he's the odds-on favourite, but I think for me, he's the best 2-year-old we've seen so far. I don't think there'd be too much arguments about that. There might be a few people who suggest other ones, but he's certainly among those setting the standard that we've seen so far this year. I think there's a press event tomorrow morning with him working in Newmarket, so you'll probably see a lot of him on your Twitter feed tomorrow, and there'll be more buzz around him tomorrow. I think it would be nice to see him come out and win really well. And the other horse I like, I mean, he's not going to win, I don't think, but Hey Gammon is a brilliant horse, I think. Really consistent, really tough. I think there'll be fewer behind him than are in front of him. And do I think he's going to win the race? Probably not, but when you've got a race with an odds-on favourite, is he a horse that could potentially give you a run into a place? I think definitely, and he's a horse that should improve into next year. He he should probably be lining up in a Guineas maybe next year. Again, not quite good enough for this level, but yeah, a horse I really like and have backed a few times this year, and I think he'll run well for connections again. Yeah,
he's very solid, isn't he?
Yeah.
What price can we get on Hey Gammon, Binners?
Hey Gammon is a nice price there, Maddie. 25 to 1.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Something running at a price for you.
Tom,
running. At least he's running, Mark.
Yeah.
Tom, I'm in disagreement with Mark. I really like Verbal Dexterity. I am slightly worried about the ground for him. Whose side are you on? Are you going to side with me?
It's a ground issue. No, it's totally a ground issue, isn't it? On soft ground, I'd be all over Verbal Dexterity, and I would give Hey Gammon a squeak of hitting the frame then, Mark. I think on fast ground, he's got absolutely no chance. He probably won't run on fast ground.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I think on soft ground, he definitely comes into it. I think the fact that they've kept Happily in there is, to me, quite significant, because I can't believe they do it without the thought of running, at least.
Well, she won the Lagardère, which is a colts race as well.
She won the Lagardère. I think she's up against Expert Art, if I'm honest, but I do think she's going to be a totally different filly when she hits fast ground. She's been running on soft ground for the last 3 times. That time she's won 2 Group 1s. But if you go back to her one and only run on good ground,
Silver Flash, was it?
Yeah, she was mightily impressive that day. I thought that was her best performance, despite having won 2 Group 1s since. And I think she's crying out for fast ground. I think she'll be a totally different filly. Now, when was the last Newmarket meeting? Was it the weekend?
Yeah.
Was it? Was it on Saturday?
So.
Whatever it was. Yes, it was. Yeah, that's the matron, or whatever the race is called.
Sun Chariot.
Sun Chariot. Yeah, that was quick ground. They were running really fast. I know the wind was behind, but the ground was pretty fast. I think there's rain forecast for Wednesday. But apart from that, it's pretty much, doesn't look like there's going to be much rain around.
No, I had a look. There's not going to be a lot of rain.
If they won't obviously be watering at this time of the year, and it was pretty quick on at the weekend. Yeah. So if it's fast ground, I think that makes it more in Expert Eye's favour. I think he'd be too quick for Verbal Dexterity on quick ground.
Yeah.
On soft ground, it's a totally different kettle of fish, and I would be against him really at that price, definitely. If the ground was soft.
I know Bull just said that he thought the ground wasn't an issue, but obviously on what Verbal Dexterity's shown so far, he has a bit of a penchant for soft ground. Bringing Seahenge, the Champagne winner, into it, and Emirati as well, who went into a lot of people's notebooks after Newbury. We analysed that performance on this postcast. Either of them of any interest, Mark?
Seahenge, probably, of those ones. But yeah, I mean, my view of the race is very much as I've said, really, and if after those two, if I had to go with one, probably Seahenge.
Does the injury that Expert Eye had worry you at all?
No, not particularly.
No. Nice and simple. Okay. No, we like it.
What about the other one? What about the Middle Park winner? Am I mad in thinking that everyone's...
He's on my list as well, US Navy flag.
Yeah, why does everyone think he's rubbish all of a sudden? Why is he 12 to 1 when he won the Middle Park, sort of going away? I think he'll love 7 furlongs. I think he's just getting better. I think he's one of those horses that, because he's got a few noughts and a few ones, he's a bit like Roly Poly and all those other, Aidan O'Brien horses that everyone sort of has a downer on.
He's a brother to Roly Poly.
Exactly. Yeah. They have a downer on them, don't they? Because they got beaten a few times and then they keep coming out and winning big races. I think he's a good bit better than people have him down as. And if you look, once again, I'm putting my ratings hat on. He's rated the same as Expert Eye. He's got the same top speed figure as Expert Eye. He's won a Group 1. Expert Eye hasn't done that. And one of them's 8 to 13. One of them's 12 to 1. If you're looking at value, I don't think you can sit here and say Expert Eye's a great bet at 8 to 13.
No, I'd agree. So would US Navy flag be your selection, or would Happily be your selection, or where are we standing?
Well, my selection will be draw related, I would imagine, come the day, because I don't think I'm going to get any great value. I mean, at the moment, I'd back Happily if I knew she was going to run at 12 to 1. The problem is, if when they say she's going to run, she'll be half those odds. So you take your chance now if you want to back her. Obviously she might not turn up, but I think being drawn by the rail might be a help, often is in this race. And if Verbal Dexterity got a draw by a rail and could get out in front, I think, Exabel Isle have to be very good to get past him.
Even on this good ground as we're predicting?
Well, the ground's the issue, isn't it, with him? I mean, I'm just hoping there's a bit of rain around during the week and that it's softer than it was on Saturday. If not, I think he probably won't be quite quick enough.
Okay, moving on to an easy question now. Who wins the Cesarewitch? quite a simple question. Pinners, how do they bet?
Well, we go 10 to 1, joint favourites, Endless Acres, John Constable, who will have Jim Crowley on board, with Hold, 12 to 1, Dubawi 50, that's Lagos to Vegas, Time to Study, Who Dares Wins, and it's 14 bar. Okay,
so as I said, easy question, Mark.
Yep.
Kick us off.
Straightforward. This common theme again about how much rain there's going to be in Newmarket and what the ground like. If we do have some rain, I really like Time to Study.
Yeah.
Really, really like Time to Study. I think it's unusual in a race like this to be talking about potentially, a progressive 3-year-old. Yeah. Normally we're talking about sort of hurdlers coming back and stuff like that. But I think this is it was a non-runner in the trial after he'd won the Mallard at Doncaster. But there's no problem as far as I'm aware. He's absolutely fine. And yeah, they're just hoping for some rain this week. And I think if we do get that, I think they go really, really close. I think he's rated 102 at the moment, and I don't think that's anything like the extent of his ability.
Yeah.
So yeah, Time to Study. I can see why John Constable's popular. It's a horse I like myself, but I just think, as well, stepping up to this trip, I think Time to Study will be able to take a step on as well. There's no reason to think that this extreme trip would be anything other than exactly what they want.
Yeah. I think Tom's going to be a bit annoyed because we know he loves youngsters in these staying races. Am I correct, Tom?
Yeah. I did this for the paper a few months ago, or a month or so ago, and Time to Study was one of my selections then. I see no reason to think that he won't run a really big race. I think the ground also... I mean, the key to him is... People are sort of comparing him on his last run. I don't think that was anywhere near his best. I think he might have bounced on the back of he had a break in the summer. Then he came back and ran really well in that bad ground at Haydock. And a week later, he ran at Doncaster in the Mallard. And he only scraped home. He was really gutsy. And he did well to fend off, I can't remember, Ian Williams' horse that's in the race as well, Byron Flyer. But he only just narrowly scraped home. I think he's better than that. If you go back to, the Queen's Vase form couldn't be better. I hate the Queen's Vase normally, but you go through it and you've got Stradivarius and Desert Skyline and Secret Advisor and Count Octave. They're all top. They've all been running really good races in really good, Stradivarius has been winning Group 1s. Desert Skylines won the Doncaster Cup. Secret Advisor won the Melrose. You know what I mean? You go on and on. Count Octave won second in the March. There's proper good quality high-class form. 102 on that form doesn't underestimate him by any stretch of the imagination. So he is definitely one. And the other one I liked was, it's a much shorter price now than he was then, but is Charlie Fellows' horse, Endless Acres. Yeah. I think if you go back to that Ascot form, that Ascot Stakes has
behind
worked
Thomas
out.
Hobson.
Well, it's worked out like gangbusters as well, hasn't it? Who Dares Wins was behind. He split them, didn't he? Magic Circle was in there. He came out and won a.
Who Dares Wins won the trial as well.
Who Dares Wins won the trial. He's better off at the weights. He's just a good horse. He's only had 8 runs. He's been trained for the race all season long. This has been his target. I think he's going to run a massive race. I think he had a spin around the track the other day, and I think he's going to run a big race too. But, I don't think I'm betraying any confidences there. He's joint favourite now, or he's 10 to 1 or whatever he was. So it's nothing to get. I think one of the interesting things about the race is I think some of these ones down the bottom, I think we're going to have quite a few get into it. Of horses rated 78, 79, 80. They don't normally get in. It could be a different race to come the day to what we're looking at now. The likes of Coeur de Lion, the likes of, those sort of ones that we're sitting here thinking are out. Long Call, one of 8 Tony Martins that was a good hurdler. We're sitting here thinking these horses aren't going to get in. They might actually get in, and I think that might be a benefit to sort of punters on the day. We might get some nice prices about horses with better chance than we get better price about horses with good chances because they're going to come into the race late on.
Yeah, okay, we've briefly mentioned some of the jumpers. Who Dares Wins won the trial. You just mentioned Coeur de Lion, John Constable, obviously at the head of the market as well. Who out of those sort of dual purpose horses would you rank as the best chance?
Me?
Yeah.
John Constable, easily. I mean, he's thrown in, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's 150 rated over hurdles. He's rating off 80 something.
Yeah, you just don't think he's value for.
Well,
the price.
listen, I do. I like him a lot, but I've come the day I might well have a few quid on him if he's 10 to 1 still. I have nothing wrong with him at all, and Evan Williams. I was watching the jumpers yesterday. Evan Williams' horses were running really well. You know, I don't know if this has been the biggest plan in the world. I think Evan would tell you that he doesn't really know that much about flat racing, but I think he's spotted an opening here for the horse.
It's a good opportunity for him.
It is a very good opportunity for him, and jump horses do exceptionally well in these races because simply they're tougher, better, and stronger than the flat ones these days.
Okay, Binners, anything to add?
I'm not exactly sure what he beat, Maddie, but a horse called Look My Way of Andrew Balding's. He's a 20-1 chance, and he won a Fosslas handicap by 22 lengths last time, and that was on 2 miles on heavy ground, so I think he's sure to stay. And I like the look of that 20-1 in what looks an easy race for punters.
God, you're hoping I'm right about that one. He's about number 712 on the list, Paul. I think he's got about 7 stone 6 or something. But if he gets in, he's a very good horse. He is.
Well,
a very good horse. He'd be very dangerous.
Lengths, Tom, you know, and
he'd be very, very dangerous. I know the horse like the back of my hand. I've been following him all season long, and if he gets in, he's very dangerous.
I love these little nuggets from Binners. They're brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, we'll be back in a moment when we have a look at the weekend. Don't miss it.
Paddy Power are offering money back as a free bet if the horse you back finishes 2nd, 3rd or 4th to the SP favourite in 2 races today and every day this month. Max £25 per race. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Okay, of course, William Buick made a successful return to the saddle with Blue Point at Ascot on Saturday. He's going to now go for the Champion Sprint, I presume, where he's going to bump into Harry Angel and Caravaggio. It's a bit like a rematch of the Commonwealth Cup, I think, and we've got the Tin Man and Quiet Reflection in there as well. How do we sort of assess his chance in that? Binners, what price is he now for the Champion Sprint?
Well, we're still only making 12-1 from 14, Maddie. Everybody should get down to Ascot for this race. Harry Angel, 6-4 favourite, 4-1 Caravaggio, 6-1 the Tin Man, 8 Quiet Reflection, 10 Tasleet and Acclaim, and then, as I say, Blue Point and others on 12.
Okay, I'd be quite keen on Quiet Reflection, I think, if she gets her soft ground in this. Who are you with, Mark?
I'd agree with that. I thought Quiet Reflection was brilliant in Ireland the other time. I mean, the question on our rundown, Blue Point, do you think he can shake up? No, I don't, simply. I think that's a fair, the price that Binners has just talked there, like that's fair. I think the worry, I mean, again, here we go again. But the ground, I mean, I think really, I know he's won the other day there, but he's won with his class probably got him through there. But the quote straight away after that were all about, we want quicker ground ideally, and they're not really unlikely to get that, I'd say. So, no, I think, great for connections, great for William Buick. I mean, jockeys are just ridiculous. The fellow, was it which T vertebra was it? This is ridiculous 2 months ago, and then he's back riding Group 3 winners. But so it's great for them, and he's a lovely horse. But do I think he can shake up Harry Angel and Quiet Reflection and the Tin Man? No, I don't.
Okay, and you'd side with Quiet Reflection at the prices at the minute in that race?
Yeah, I think I would. Or the Tin Man, one of those two. Yeah, I haven't quite made my mind. I put Quiet Reflection or the Tin Man. Yeah, I'd probably go for one of those two.
Okay, Tom, are you in agreement? We also sort of
don't like Quiet Reflection that much at Ascot. No, I know she won the Commonwealth Cup last year. I thought that was her worst performance last year. I thought she scraped home in a bad renewal of the race. She only just got home from Catchy. I'm not sure Ascot's her track myself. I think proper soft ground tracks like she got the other day, like she got at Haydock when she was really impressive. Haydock's, that sort of ground's her track. I'm not sure the sort of newly relayed, the sort of sandy surface at Ascot's her perfect cup of tea. She was, when she ran in the race last year, she was pretty disappointing. Let's be honest about it. She was favourite for it, and she finished, miles back.
This is true.
So I would be slightly worried about her, and I get she's had a fresh season.
Blue Point, though. Do you
no,
think
I don't think he'll be. No? I think it's Harry Angel versus Caravaggio over again.
Yeah.
I get it. I get why Harry Angel's the very short price favourite. I get he'll probably win. But I do think Caravaggio is a totally different horse at Ascot. I'd give him a shot. And the only other one is my old friend who I keep coming back to, a bloody Breeze. He loves Ascot. One day he's going to win one of these races because he travels and finishes. He's a perfect Ascot horse. He could hit the frame at 12 or 14-1, but to be honest, I think the top two in the market will dominate.
It's going to be an excellent race, though, isn't it?
Yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, the sprinters are back for good. Now, before we move on to looking at Sunday's Sun Chariot, just want to give Enable a quick mention. It's recently been announced that she's going to stay in training next year. Me and Bruce did a short piece on it this morning. Absolutely great, fantastic. Khalid Abdullah, you know, he recognised with Frankel that he had a bit of a responsibility to keep these horses in training. She could have so easily been shipped off to the breeding sheds. Mark, we're going to talk about Winks briefly later on. It's great to have these fillies around, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the prospect of those two racing against each other next year, which seems a very realistic possibility now, is fantastic. I mean, you're talking about a race that would capture the attention of.
It'd be iconic, wouldn't it?
It would be. Every racing fan in the world would be, would be interested in the outcome of that race. And I think we saw, Black Caviar having people out in the streets in Melbourne in the middle of the night watching, you'd have all that kind of thing happening all over again. But no, it's fantastic to have an Abel coming back next year. Penny for the thoughts of Mr. Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Who I think was sort of hoping that wouldn't be the case and he could go and pick up an ARC next year. So I think he'd be the only person who probably isn't as pleased. But no, it's fantastic news. And, the longer we can have these horses stay around, I thought we would lose her. I said here last time that, we're probably counting down the number of times we'll see her. So I sort of, not based on any info, but I thought she'd just, I thought, why wouldn't they?
But it's understandable because it happens every year.
It happens so often, So, no, fantastic and fair play to them and look forward to seeing what she can do next year. Yeah,
and Tom, you've always been a big Enable fan. Do you think next year she can go and win the ARC again and everything, or do you think something will progress and beat her?
Well, look, we don't have a clue what the best 3-year-old's going to be next year, do we?
No.
So far, I don't think I've seen a 2-year-old that I expect to get anywhere near her. But, yeah, it's good. It's good for the sport, isn't it? I do think, sometimes we get a bit heavy-handed with some of these owners who pack their. If I owned a Derby winner, I'd be packing him off as well. Let's not make any bones about it. It's good that Khaled Abdallah doesn't do it, but I think the filly to keep a filly in training in 4-year-old, I don't think you're on a loser at all. It's great to see her, and it'll be great to see her again.
I think it was interesting just to add. I spoke to Rab Havlin this week for a piece when he was earlier in the week last week.
Yeah, of course he rides her in all their work.
Rode her in all their work, and he said something that was interesting. He'd ridden her every time, and all the 3 weeks building up to the ARC, and he was saying that she does nothing at home. So the only time she's done anything was the last piece of work before the ARC when she actually picked up the lead horse and went by 5 or 6 lengths, and that was the first time she'd really done anything.
The best ones don't always do that much at home, do they?
The reason she'd improved, I was saying, so how on earth did she lose at Newbury? That was sort of my opener. I said, well, how did she get beat there? And he said, well, she's progressing as she races. So, it's not ridiculous to think that she could be much better again next year because she still only had, she's still relatively lightly raced. And if what Rab has said is correct, which no reason to think it is, no reason to think it wouldn't be, she may well not be done with physical development and all that sort of thing yet. So, very real possibility that she could come back next year and not only just maintain a level of form, and it's about anyone going past her, but actually improve and be able to hold off if there was a 3-year-old that came up and could challenge her. So, yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah. Binner's quick price on Enable for next year's ARC.
Well, she's 3-1 favourite for that race, Maddie, with Cracksman 12-1, so John Gosden smiling, and then it's 33-1 bar with Cloth of Stars on that price.
Okay, now we're going to go back to the weekend and talk about the Sun Chariot. Roly-Poly, of course, winning another Group 1 for Aidan O'Brien. A lot of people asking on Twitter as well, what impact do we think she's going to have at the Breeders' Cup? Now, where is it? She finished 9th of 14 in the Juvenile Fillies Turf last year. Do we reckon she can do better in a different set of circumstances this time around, Mark?
Well, I don't see. I mean, Del Mar, it's tight. It's a tight track. You want to be up with the speed. She can do all those things. So I don't see any reason why quick round there should be any problem. It depends what race she goes for, because we were just talking before we came on about the filly and Mes being a 9 furlong race this year instead, so that might be the way they go. I mean, ostensibly there is no reason why not. No, I mean, and should go there with every chance, in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. Right. We've also got Sudwar to mention as well, who won the Shadwell Turf Mile. Obviously, Danny Tudhope, David O'Mara winning another big race out there. They've had Mondialise win that as well. He could well have an impact at the Breeders' Cup. Tom, either of those, Sudwar or Roly-Poly, on your radar for the Breeders' Cup?
Nothing is ever on my radar for the Breeders' Cup, Maddie. I couldn't think of anything I like less than the Breeders' Cup, if truth be told. On. But no, I haven't watched it for donkey's years, and I won't be watching it ever again, I doubt. I liked Roly-Poly, though. I swayed by it. I don't think it's anywhere near good enough. I think everyone missed the point about Roly-Poly. I thought it was the ride of the season. I know it looked easy, but he was in trap 1, trap 12, trap 10, trap 9. They were all on all the horses that finished upsides them. All the fancied horses were all drawn right on that stance rail. I thought there was a massive advantage. And Ryan got her out, got her into that thing, got her rolling. I thought it was the difference between him and the rest of them is he judges conditions so much quicker than any other jockey in the weighing room. He worked it out, and he was in the right spot from the word go, despite having the worst draw. And I thought it was just a sensationally good ride. He did it at Doncaster all the other week when he was the only man sticking on that far side when it was clearly clearer. He does it a lot, and I thought Roly Poly had a massive advantage due to her jockey more than anything. But having said that, I think she's really got better. I don't think last year's run at wherever it was has any reflection to the filly she is now. I think Usherette will be a much bigger danger in the Breeders' Cup race because I think she was unlucky again. She got too far back. She got trapped on the rail
she
behind.
Tends to be quite unlucky, doesn't she?
I've got it written down here.
But we didn't have that last year, did we? We've had that twice. We've had that twice this year. I'm not sure. I think the key to her will be a stepping up in trip. I think she's got to want 9 furlongs, 20 furlongs.
We're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, I think she just wants further.
I'm surprised they've never tried Roly Poly over further.
Yeah, she probably does too.
I'd love to see her over further. With her dam Misty for me, she got further. The
thing is, though, I think the French fillies, the French horses have a much better record at the Breeders' Cup than we do, despite me not watching it. Simply because they have. He's
better than us. He doesn't even watch it.
Simply because they are given. Usherette's hardly had a race this season. She had, what I mean. Roly Poly's been to every single dance and she's done everything. Usherette looks to me like she's going to put in her best ever effort next time. And that's why I think she's a player in the Breeders' Cup race rather than Roly.
I could leave Usherette. That's happening too many times now.
Pain there.
Okay, well, you back Roly Poly at 3s, and I'll back Usherette at 12s, and we'll see who comes out on top.
I think you'd be frustrated again. I think that's going to happen a few times. I wrote the same thing as you there about Ryan Moore. I mean, it's amazing how often in these Group 1 races he just imposes his will on them. And I don't know if it's a case of sometimes other jockeys respect him a little bit too much as well and allow him to do these things.
Yeah, that's an interesting point,
Mikel Barcelona on Usherette, for example, in that race. But
listen, I don't think it was Barcelona's fault. I think the thing is about it is that Ryan Moore's his own man.
Yeah.
He doesn't sit in the weighing room and they all go, where are you going to go? I don't think he goes, I'm going to go where I want to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas I think a lot of the others are sitting there discussing what they're going to do, what's going to happen. And he's got the tactical edge on them most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, Frankie would be the only other one. Him and Frankie seem to be able to operate on a different level in the Group 1s. And on Roly Poly herself, I mean, just watching the race, at what point in that final couple of furlongs you think, oh, she's going to get beaten? She doesn't look like she's going to get swallowed up. And your good friend James Willoughby, Tom talks a lot about Galileo and the way they all give so much of themselves all the time. If there's a difference between him and Dubawi, for example, I know he said this a few times, but they just give so much of themselves, these Galileos, and they try so hard for you as well as having the class that they have. And I think that performance was real evidence of that on Saturday.
Roly Poly is by Warframe, but
Beg your pardon, of course.
No worries.
Cut that out.
No worries. We will make the mistake, and you're very right. Right, bidders for the Breeders' Cup, what price can we get Roly Poly, Usherette, or any other reactions from the weekend that reflect in those markets?
Well, we initially put Roly Poly into the Breeders' Cup mile, Maddie, but then it looks like she's going to go for this Breeders' Cup filly and mare stakes. We put her in at 5-1 for the mile, and she's 8-1 for the mare's race. So that looks quite a nice price to me.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to talk about the rest of the action over the weekend now. Any other eye catchers? Old Persian, Danehill, Kodiak, maybe anything on Sunday. Mark, who's our resident Australian expert, we briefly mentioned Winks.
The sires expert, am I?
No, shush. I love it when we get you on and you can talk about Winks because you speak about her so passionately. You've seen her in the flesh. And as you say, that match between her and Enable next year is a really realistic possibility.
Yeah.
How do you think? I mean, it's hard to compare, and you get a lot of people who complain and say you can't compare horses, but this is why we love sport because we can compare them and we can at least give it a go.
Conversations is the whole point.
So take it away, Winks v Enable, and where do Winks' limitations lie? Because her last win was spectacular.
Yeah, and I think the thing we get up here a lot is, well, what's she beating? And the answer is probably not an awful lot, but I think we reach a point where you have to say, well, it's not her. That's not her fault.
Yeah.
And you have to sort of take her performances in isolation and look at, the sectional time she's delivering and the way she moves and the way she dominates a race, and in a totally different way to Black Caviar, to go back to the last Australian superstar who was just sort of metronomic almost and like a machine, like in the way she just dominated races. Winks kind of lets the race unfold in front of her and then just does her own thing. I think, I mean, they're going to meet. If they do meet, it's not going to be over a mile and a half. It's going to be over, a mile 2,000 meters in all likelihood, or it's not going to be a mile either, is it? So it's going to be sort of 2,000 meters. Now, that is arguably not Enable's best trip.
No, you'd think her optimum would be a mile and a half.
Whereas Winks' optimum is the 2,000 meters, and we get to see Winks at that trip so few times relatively because of the way the Australians campaign. We actually see Winks, again, unlike Black Caviar, who would run over the sprint trips all the time, we actually see Winks more vulnerable in more often because she runs over unsuitable distances because of the way they campaign their horses in Australia. So it would be interesting because on distance, she would, if it was a top trump sort of thing, if you were lining up the race,
I love it, yeah.
On distance, Winks has the upper hand in terms of they're probably likely to meet
adaptability
over that trip. And then the question is, would racing against better opposition bring more out of Winks? We don't know. We don't know that. She seems to be able to dominate whatever's put in front of her, and every time something comes along that you think could challenge her, she steps up again. So, my worry with the way Winks has gone this year is I think there's a couple of times when she's looked like she's just getting a little bit clever for it, and I wonder if in a higher quality race she would still do that and then sort of not be able to rescue it the way she has because she's just simply better than them. That would be my big worry with Winks coming up here. Excuse me. So I think if they were to meet, let's say in something, I mean, what sort of races? She probably wouldn't be Royal Ascot because I think she'll run in the Queen Anne at Royal Ascot. So then what are we talking about? Like a Juddmonte maybe, something like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have said the Juddmonte would be possible.
I think I'd probably just still side with Enable, but I don't think the way some people just can't have it that this is actually a legitimate match are wrong. It is a legitimate match, and like I said earlier, it'd be something that that would captivate the racing world in a way that we haven't seen for quite a while, I think. And also the back and forth of the two sides would be great to have as well, as opposed to just where it's like just a Black Caviar
so
going somewhere.
many dimensions to it.
You'd have to go to the two camps. So yeah, I mean, just fingers crossed it happens. It'd just be fantastic. But if you don't think this is a legitimate contest, you really need to wake up and have a look at what Winks is actually doing from a performance and a sectionals point of view, because you're missing the point really if you sort of think she's just a flat track bully who's beaten up on poor horses, because she really isn't. She's something else.
Winks is exceptional. Now, Tom, anything else from the weekend if you want to talk about Winks as well, or did anything? I
certainly don't want to talk about Winks.
Oh, come on, it's really exciting.
Yeah, brilliant. Can't wait. Everyone in the world's really excited for it, bar me, it sounds like, but there we go. I like the jumpers. We like the jumpers. We're bored of this flat season. I thought there were some really excellent jumpers out this week. I thought the horse that ran at Ascot is really interesting. He ran in the Cumberland Lodge Stakes, Flying Tiger. He won the Fred Winter the other day. I thought he ran an absolute blinder. He was too keen. He pulled too hard. He smashed into the rails. His first run ever over on the flat, and he finished 5th in a Group 3, beating loads of horses in good form.
Yeah,
and the race didn't go to run to suit him. I had a look back about the Fred Winter last year, and I completely missed him. Don't know where he came. He won, and I didn't even notice him. Even after the race, during whatever. And I watched him again. He travelled like the wrath of God. He quickened up. He stayed well. That is a proper serious horse going forward. He probably run in the Greatwood. I don't know, but I think he will be running in Champion Hurdles one day. That was number 1. Number 2 ran at Fontwell, a horse called Go Conquer.
Love him. Yes, he's on my radar.
He doesn't get 3 miles properly. He's got to go for the Paddy Power. He likes Cheltenham. He ran round in the...
I asked for a price for him.
He ran round in the on Tom Board 2 race,
yeah.
didn't he? And he travelled like the best horse for so much of the way. I think 2.5 miles in the Paddy Power suit him well. And then this one isn't one's a bit boring and a bit obvious. But that horse that won the Munster National yesterday, Total Recall, must have 3 stone in hand. And if Willie Mullins and Ruby Walsh are listening, he has got to run in the Hennessy because he'd win. I don't care who he's up against. They'll put him up a stone for that. But I thought he was brilliant yesterday. I think Alpha de Zobo has got a stone in hand, and he gave him, and he absolutely annihilated them. The 2 of them were miles clear of everything else. Loads of informed horses. I know there was a bit of carnage in the race, but if that horse can't be rated 160 in the future, I'll be staggered.
Okay, I love that. You're getting us absolutely stoked for the jump season. Binners, quickly, any last-minute eye-catchers from you?
Well, the race of the weekend for me, Maddie, was the listed race at Dundalk on Friday evening. A horse called Riazan of Michael Halford's. My great friend, the Curragh Conjurer, Brendan Dukes, stable star, Warm the Voice, beat that one last time, and it was great to see him winning. And I think Halford's charge will be better on better ground next year and secure some nice prizes himself.
Okay, excellent. I've tried to answer plenty of these Twitter Q&A questions as we've gone along, but I did badger Mark for @DuncanM1981. He said, simple question, can you find me a winner at York on Saturday, please? I asked you, Mark. You said...
I hope I have. Yeah, before I do that, Binners is right. By the way, that was a really good performance at Dundalk on Friday. And how good was Dundalk on Friday? It was really, really...
Exactly. It was Winks and Abel all over again, wasn't it?
It was a really, really enjoyable evening of racing, because this Jockeys Championship between Pat Smullen and Colin Keane is really, really set alight.
Yeah.
Smullen had his 4 winners and then was looking like winning the last as well to have 5, and Keane comes and gets him. And it was just a really, really enjoyable evening of racing. Anyway,
I'm reliably informed, Mark, that there's going to be a great piece by David Jennings about this Jockeys Championship in the Racing Post.
We shall keep an eye out for that.
Sometime this week.
Excellent. Look forward to that. York on Saturday. What sort of price this will be, I don't know. But in the Rockingham, a horse called Shababi won brilliantly the last couple of times, and maybe it's not going to be a price that's going to allow you to quit your job on Monday. But it's probably going to be the best horse you'll see at York on Saturday. So in the Rockingham. So yeah, Shababi in that one for me.
Okay, excellent. And on that note, punting pearls. Listen to this. What we got from Paul Keeley on Friday's Postcast.
I don't know why anybody finds this hard at all. Surely just Dark Anna just wins, doesn't it? I mean, you look at this racing price, you think, big field is going to be really hard and whatever. Since 2010, prices of the winners 3 to 1, 11 to 2, 4 to 1, 10 to 1, 6 to 5, 100 to 30, and 12 to 1. Right? This race is full of horses who are, it's a wide range of class. Now, if you look at official ratings, Dark Anna has an official rating of 104. The next highest in the race is 98, which is De Bruyne horse, and he is giving Dark Anna £8. The next best in the race is 94, and he is giving Dark Anna £5. Then you go down to 92, right, and they're getting a little bit of weight. She's got so much in hand, and I don't see how there's any holes in her. She's virtually improved on nearly every start. She may have been 66 to 1 last week when 5th to Clemmy, beaten only 4 lengths, but bear in mind that
you've got Clemmy down as a Guineas winner.
I got her down as the Guineas winner anyway, but bear in mind she was only beaten 5.5 lengths by Clemmy in July, and she's improved since. She was second in the Group 3 at Deauville, and although only 5th the last time she ran in the sales race, that was at York. She was one of only 2 of the first 10 home. To finish in the first, to have raced on the stand side, and the other one was the one who won on the stand side. It was Hay Jonesy, who was a reasonably close 4th in the Middle Park last week. So I just think her form absolutely stands out. If you raced her against just in a field of 5 against the 4 next best horses in the race, I think she'd be 2s on. Right? And the rest of them aren't any good. She's a prominent racer, so I'm not worried about trouble in running. I just think she'll win.
That's why Keels is the king of this game.
That's why Keels is the king, indeed. Hopefully there'll be plenty more of that. So join the guys on Friday for the Friday Postcast. If you like our shows, make sure to review and subscribe on iTunes. And thank you very much for joining us.
Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus. Available to use online, at ATMs, or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty.